to take care of your parents as they get to the end of their life while you're really trying to create life for a new person. That's just too much work. Hey guys, it's Sierra. Welcome back to my channel. This video is going to be the Fiction Friday video for Can't Get Enough by Kennedy Ryan. So the story follows Hendrix, who is a very successful, confident, passionate, that woman. She's very much like that rich auntie when it comes to her support system and her family. And she's navigating through a huge transition when it comes to her mother, who suffers with Alzheimer's, but also doing more of her career path as she's working with someone to create a TV show. But there is a tie to someone else that is tied to the love interest, which is Maverick Bell. So Maverick is very successful as well. He's going through his own situation, and with his ex, things it's not easy to navigate that space, especially when it comes to creating this TV show. There's more details on how Maverick plays into that besides just being the connection to the show, but that's for you to read. I'm not gonna give you all the information, but it is a love story. It really covers the romance side of Hendrix and Maverick especially, but it also highlights what it's like to be a caregiver and the mental strain and the mental health struggles that come along with it, with being a caregiver. So overall, I would say the story was really good. I really liked reading Hendrix's story, because you get a little snippet of Hendrix from the other stories. I haven't read Before I Let Go, but I did read Soledad's story, and you do get a snippet of her. She's very much that rich auntie, very confident, very career focused. And there's always many layers to that too. So it's not just like the one aspect of a character. So when you get to read their story, you see a lot more of the nuance and other levels when it comes to that character. But so I really do think that was a really good book. I'm gonna go ahead and jump into the discussion questions, and then we'll do a final recap with a rating. And yeah, that's pretty much gonna be the video. So the first question is, have you ever known or cared for someone with Alzheimer's? How did Hendrix navigate the demands of caring for an aging parent and cope with watching her mother as she knew her fade away? I never cared for anyone with Alzheimer's, but I did help care for my grandmother who had cancer. So I can't say I get the mental strain and understand the mental health side of it. It is tough. So how Hendrix navigated that, it was very interesting to see her perspective of it, because there is a certain part of the story where she she wasn't as present for, I think it was like about a month or so. She was really struggling career-wise and also just adjusting too, but she did have her aunt to help. Yes. I think she did pretty well with navigating the demands for her mother, and to watch her mother kind of slip away, that is hard to see. I did have a grandmother who did suffer with Alzheimer's. I wasn't around as much because I was caring for my maternal grandmother at the time, so I didn't really get to experience that. But the times when I did go home and see her, I could tell that there was a difference. But she still had like that bubbly personality. So as long as we just kept it at that level and just talking with her, she was pretty good with that. And she was with my staying with my parents at the time. But I totally get that, but I won't go any further. Next question. Hendrix won't let anyone get in the way of her dreams. How did she reassess what that means over the course of the novel? I would say she kind of reassesses it by, she doesn't even reassess. I think because Hendrix is such a career-driven woman, but she's also a very family, but she has a lot of love and care for her family and her friends. So she's very much tied to a lot of people. So when it came to reassessing her goals and her dreams for this show, she really does take into consideration of the other people involved. So I don't think she really reassesses it in a way, because she's always thinking about other people. So I don't really think she had to reassess it. It was more so of the certain character that's tied to her and Maverick that was a little bit of a harder transition to navigate, because that's someone who is kind of a stranger to her versus people who she's worked with for years or her family. So I think that was a huge difference. How do Hendrix and Maverick model partnership in addition to passion? How do they demonstrate that they truly see and understand each other? I think first I'm gonna answer the second question. I think they demonstrate that they truly see and understand each other by the discussions that they have when it comes to his father, her mother, and just really being a support system to each other. So not really becoming like, I need to do everything for you, and becoming clingy or overbearing, but just being like, if you need something, I'm there. Like texting to remind each other, like, hey, what do you need? You want to go out for food, or just like that, just to checking in on each other type of things. I feel like that's very mature to allow people to navigate their lives, because everyone's lives or experiences with Alzheimer's, and a parent caring for a parent with Alzheimer's is different, and people need different levels of care with that. Some people might need more hands-on, but Hendrix is so independent. So Maverick adjusted to as much as he could by making sure she had her independence when caring for her mother, but knowing that Maverick was there. So they really demonstrated that by really catering to each other's needs. So how do they model partnership? Exactly just like that, I would say. Just knowing when to step in, when to like reach out or do a little bit more when it comes to like helping each other out with specific situations. I would say I would have liked if they would had a little bit more passion in the book, a little bit more scenes, but still I feel like with Kennedy Ryan, she has like a pretty good balance of that, because you don't need all of passion, but you don't need all the seriousness too. It's like you need like a mix of both, but it's obviously because Kennedy Ryan writes writes about adults. There's always going to be a balance like that, or maybe it might be a little bit imbalanced. It might be a lot more family based or mental side of the characters' lives versus like their love lives. It's not going to be as prevalent in their life. Like it's going to be there, but it's not going to be like as heavy as everything else. Like it helps lighten the load a little bit, but it's not going to be but the romance side is not going to dominate over their actual lives. So I feel like that's a good balance of that. What did you think of how both Hendrix and Maverick handled Maverick's breakup and its ongoing fallout? Do you think girl code applied here? Does it ever apply? Did Hendrix do a good job modeling how to act when professional loyalty and personal desires conflict? I think they handled it pretty well, because to be quite honest, the ex, I felt like she really just wanted to have control and wanted to have more say than she actually did. It was very much like a lot of want, a lot of desire. And the fact that her and Maverick had completely two different lifestyles, two different dreams, she took that to heart, and it really like held her down mentally while she was trying to navigate her own life as well, because she ends up going out with somebody else or ends up dating someone else. But it seems like despite that, it still weighs heavily on her that her and Maverick couldn't come to an agreement or compromise on what their life will look like in the future. I don't think girl code applied here. Like that is her whole ex. And that's the thing too, that kind of reminds me, especially, I know people are talking about Sabrina Carpenter and her album cover, but going all the way back to the very beginning of how Sabrina got this popular, people were literally dogging her for dating someone else's ex. It's like, y'all know we do that, right? That's how people date. Whoever you're dating was somebody's ex. There's no girl code with that. It's girl code if you're literally like best friends with somebody and that's their ex, or it's your literally, if it's your sister's ex, that's different. But these women do not know each other. Same thing with Sabrina and Olivia Rodrigo. They did not know each other like that. Like, it's not that deep. If you don't know the person, it's not girl code. Like, yes, they're working together, and she handled it professionally as best as possible by saying, like, look, we've actually started to connect, and she actually communicated that really well. I'm talking about Hendrix. it was more so on the ex to process that. She should have just been like, I'm gonna step away for a little bit. I just need to process it on my own instead of being so reactive and emotional right in the moment. But I guess, you know, because they were together, I don't even remember if it was like a significant amount of time. To me, a significant amount of time to have that much emotional reaction to someone dating your ex is if you've been dating over 5 years, but I think they were only together for 2 years. That's just me. I feel like it wasn't that deep, but you know, everyone has their own emotional state, especially when it comes to connecting with other people in a certain amount of time. It's different for everybody. But for me, I felt like it wasn't that deep, and there is no girl code applied here. It was handled professionally. Even Maverick handled it professionally. But that ex, she needed to let that go. And she was dating a whole other guy at the time too when this conversation was going on. Like, I get it, like it kind of hits you out of nowhere, but you can't be surprised if Maverick moves on. You moved on. It kind of gives like a little bit, it gives territorial. But she needed to let go and move on. But that's how I'm going to answer those questions. What did you think of the author's choice to make Hendrix child-free by choice, something not often seen in romance heroines? I absolutely loved it. I am child-free by choice myself. I do not disappoint to have any. Even times like back then when I thought I would want him, but I never thought about having kids necessarily. Like, you know how when you're younger, you're like, oh, I want to be a mom, I want to be a wife, I'm gonna be a homemaker. I never had that. I just wanted to be Nick Jonas's girlfriend and be a fashion designer. Like, thinking about kids, marriage, marrying, a wedding, none of that came to mind when I was a kid. So having Hendrix child-free by choice, I really loved it, especially because her mom has Alzheimer's, her dad passed away. She's got other things to worry about than having a kid. Like, that's already a huge aspect of her life, is caring for her mother with Alzheimer's. Like, I feel like that's the thing too that people don't understand when it comes to being child-free by choice, or even just like being a parent and a child at the same time. It's like, yes, you're an adult, but you're still your parent's child. You still have parents to care for, and now you have children to care for. That's a lot to freaking deal with, because your parents are going to get older. Your parents are going to get sick. You need to figure out what you're going to do with them. If they're going to need to be in a home, do they need to come live with you? What treatments? And then you have your kids too to care for. You're literally trying to take care of your parents as they get to the end of their life, while you're really trying to create life for a new person. That's just too much work. That's just too much on a singular person, because sometimes, a lot of times, there are single mothers in marriages, and that's a lot of that's a lot to deal with. Even if there is a good relationship between the wife and husband, or wife and wife, husband and husband, even if there is a good balance, it's still a lot to deal with. Like, that's a lot. And then you barely get time for yourself. And then when you do get time for yourself, you're seen as like a bad mom. You're probably seen as a bad daughter for putting your parents in a home when you couldn't care for them. Like, there's just too much. So I loved seeing that Hendrix is child-free by choice, because she only needs two focuses, okay? Is now she is in her relationship with Maverick and taking care of her mother. That's all she needs. Like, she does help when it comes to like her nieces and nephews. They're not actually her nieces and nephews, Soledad's kids, but still, like, she helps out in that way too, and she's really supportive and she's very loving towards them. But she doesn't have to have that full-on commitment, because girl, she already got too much going on. So I definitely appreciate that. What role does found family and community play in Hendrix's life? What was special about her friendship with Soledad and Yasmin? So I haven't read Before I Let Go, like I just said. So I don't know anything about Yasmin's background. I've heard of the story. I haven't read it yet. But I would say that it is, found family is a huge part of Hendrix's life. Like, it's literally, I can't even say, like, out of the entire story, I would say about 10% is a romance with Maverick. I would say about 70% is her mother, and then the remainder is her found family. So it is a huge aspect of it. So, I mean, she's constantly supportive. She's always helping out with the girls. And now with I forgot his name, Judah. Now with Judah's boys, like that's an additional help too. Like if anything, if like they want to all hang out together or something like that, Hendrix is always there for all of them. Really, that's a lot of freaking kids to care for, really, and to have all that love in your heart. So it is a huge part of her life. And what's special about her friendship with them is that everyone is very supportive of each other. They're very much in each other's lives to the point of like they'll financially support each other. They'll like take the kids, be like, yeah, me and the girls, we went shopping or whatever type of thing. It's a very tight-knit community and very supportive. The novel incorporates social issues with the lawsuit against Aspire Fund. How do these outside forces impact and shape the novel's protagonist? I was kind of shocked about this part. It's very interesting and very unfortunate because Maverick is such a successful guy, and for his dream to get shattered like that, I was very annoyed because like you could never win. Like there's always going to be something. So I feel like how do these outside forces impact and shape the novel's protagonist? It really shapes, I would say, more so Maverick than it does Hendrix, because Hendrix didn't have much of a tie to it. If, in my opinion, I thought the ex was going to be tied to Aspire Fund or something. I thought there was going to be something more detailed with the ex with that. So I thought it was going to get really messy in that sense. But really, it was more so just on Maverick's side of dealing with this company's racist antics. Like, I guess it really more so impacted him and his dreams and what he wants out of life. Like that was his dream to really have that business aspect of it, and he couldn't get it because of racist antics. So it's kind of like, it's sad, it's disheartening and frustrating because a lot of the times that's what a lot of successful Black people deal with, navigating the space of acquiring or connecting with different businesses, connecting with different people. There's always a risk factor because you don't know. Like you can check the history of a company and seeing if there's any lawsuits towards them, like from back in the day, if you can get those records type of thing. But it's always a risk. It's always a risk. And the thing is, a lot of people, especially civilians in general, civilians and just people who do follow you, they don't understand that side of it. So it was very interesting to see it from the perspective of a business side, where it's like, well, I didn't know. Like, you can go online and say like, wow, I can't believe they're partnering. It's like, yeah, but Maverick didn't know about this. Or like, people in charge, they might not know all the details because some companies, they hide their shit. Like they put things in a file and they put it in the basement, or they set the papers on fire and act like nothing happened. Multi-billion-dollar businesses do this kind of stuff. They're messy. And whatever they don't want public or whatever they don't want to deal with, they get rid of it. Not everything is going to be communicated because there's a lot of shady people. Let's just be honest. There's a lot of shady people. There's a lot of shady businesses. And they will do their best to hide their shadiness just for a couple of $1,000s, millions of dollars, whatever. They just will. And so for Hendrix, it's unfortunate that he almost got tied up in that, really. He didn't like fully get tied up in it, but like if he had gotten the deal and then that came out, then they would have dragged his ass online and in business for even connecting with them. But he didn't know. So I feel like it really just impacted him, but luckily he didn't get to the point of working with the Aspire Fund. Do you prefer escapist love stories, or ones I can't get enough that have their characters confronting serious issues? I prefer a little bit of both. Give me some escapism, but also give me some seriousness. It all depends on the story. Yes.
I can have Pringles.
Yes. But yeah, I like a little bit of both. I like a little bit of a mix when it comes to my stories. Some books, if I'm gonna read for pure escapism, I'm just like, I need to get away from social issues. Like y'all know, when I read I think I read like 4 Tiffany D. Jackson books in a row, which are very socially heavy. And then I read some other books that were like racially heavy too, like Ace of Spades. when it comes to like that kind of stuff, it gets to a point where I'm like, you know what, I need to read something completely different. Then I'll read like Kimberly Lemming's books, because it's just pure like it's just pure nonsense. Like there's sometimes like there's like a balance of that when it comes to like when I need breaks. But in my books, I prefer a mix, but just like a nice balance. Like I need some humor too. I need some nonsense in the midst of serious issues. What did you think of the balance between emotional intimacy and physical intimacy in the novel? I really did answer this question. I wish it was a little bit more physical intimacy. Maybe that's because I'm used to like Alexandria House level kind of books. But that's not Kennedy writing style. Everybody has a different style of writing. So when it comes to this novel, I liked it. I just wish it was a little bit more physical intimacy, but I respect that it didn't have to be like extremely heavy either. So it was a nice balance. Yeah, so right amount of spice for you, too little or too much. Yeah, that's pretty much me answering the question. And last question, have you read either of the earlier 2 books in the Skyland series? If not, will you go to read them after reading Can't Get Enough? So I will read Before I Let Go eventually. I think I have it on Audible. I think I already bought it, so I'm gonna go ahead and read it, because I'm not trying to spend any more of, I think I canceled my subscription on Audible, so all I have is like the books left that I have there. I'll read the books there that I already have. I'm not buying anything else. I'm not using any more of the points, like, because I'm done with that. I use Libby for more than anything. But from what I've read so far, Soledad's story is, I would say, #1 in my book, and I would say Can't Get Enough is #2. So we'll see about Before I Let Go, because I hear that there are some characters who are messy. I think it was Yasmin's teenage daughter. I'm like, ooh, I might have to slap her. So it's gonna get a little tough for some parts of the book, depending on the characters. But yeah, those are all the questions for that. So my overall final impression, after just answering the questions, recapping, and remembering even more of the story, it's a really good book, especially for those who are caring for ailing parents or grandparents. This is a story where you'll be like, oh my gosh, somebody finally gets it. It could be Alzheimer's, it could be any type of illness that your family member is struggling with. This kind of helps you may feel not alone when it comes to dealing with the transition of the illness. It could go from like finding about the illness to starting to start that journey, or it could be as it progresses even more and how hard that can be. So I really liked it for that part. So I give my overall rating, I'll give it a 4.5. I think I gave it a 4 on Storyblocks, but now I'm gonna give it a 4.5. I'll have to go back and not Storyblocks, Storygraph, Jesus Christ, on Storygraph. But yeah, that's all I have for this video. So if you like this video, be sure to like this video, comment below a response to any one of the questions. I'll put the questions in the description box below too, so you can just copy and paste, or if you just want to straight up answer it, that's cool too. But yeah, stay magical. Bye.